In today's transmission, I talk about the difficulty of having faith in the unseen. I also talk about unlocking our dormant superpowers within our DNA, and I also question Jasmine's decision-making skills in Aladdin when she hops on that magic carpet with a dirty street rat. Here we go. Hello, my fellow misfits. Welcome back to the cult. I'm Matt Owens, of course, and if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're loving the soothing sounds of my buttery voice, I have a sister who went to Hawaii for a couple of years to live, and she came back and she started pronouncing all of these words weirdly, right? Like her dialect changed, and she says things like buttery instead of buttery. She rolls R's sometimes, and there's just random. It's crazy. But anyways, if you're enjoying what I'm doing here, guys, if you love the sound of my buttery voice, consider following me, subscribing, liking, sharing with fellow misfits, all of the above. Thank you so much. Today, I want to talk about faith and trust. It's something that I talk about frequently, but it's on the forefront of my mind this week. And so I want to do a little deep dive on faith and trust, what that means to me. Because I feel like these last few years I've been really trying to play with the idea of giving as close to 100% faith and trust in God, in the universe, in my path, and just trusting that I'm being guided where I need to go. And I think if you ask most spiritual people or religious people or whatever, do you trust that God is going to lead you where you need to go? I feel like most people would say, well, yes, of course I do. But I found that in my own life, when it really came time for that faith and trust to kick in, when it was actually required, right? Stepping outside my comfort zone or whatever, stepping into the unknown, a scary situation, my faith was tested. And it was not near 100%, I'll tell you that right now. It was quite low. And I started thinking about why. Why do I have such a difficult time? Why do we humans have such a difficult time having faith and trust in the unseen? And for me, I think it's because just being a person on this planet, we're often let down, right? People let us down, situations let us down, people lie to us and deceive us. We have a lot of reasons why we should be distrustful. And so I started practicing in my own life, beefing up that faith and trust muscle, practicing it. And so anytime I have a lack of faith, the universe says to me, do you trust me? And I'm given the image from the movie Aladdin, where Aladdin is on the flying carpet and he reaches out to Jasmine on the balcony to join him on the magic carpet and says, do you trust me? And really, she had no reason to trust that guy. He was actually pretty shady. If we're being real, I don't know why she got on that carpet. Perhaps it was foolish. Because he was quite deceptive. He was a liar. She had no reason to believe that it was safe to step on that carpet. And yet, a whole new world, right? And that's what often happens with us is Spirit will reach out to us, look us directly in the eye and say, do you trust me? And the answer I often gave back my whole life was, well, kinda, maybe. Where are we going on this magic carpet? How high up are we going to fly? How fast does it go? Do I need to sit down? I got a lot of questions here. I'm kind of afraid, right? I've never done this before. It's kind of scary. This is a new situation for me. But these last few years, when Spirit asks me, do you trust me? I've started saying, yes. Yes. There may be tears streaming out of my eyes or me gritting my teeth, but I say, okay, sure. Yes, I guess so. What if Spirit asked you tomorrow to quit your job? Because it was in your best interest and that there are mechanisms happening behind the scenes that you can't comprehend. Do you trust Spirit? Yes or no? What if Spirit asked you today to give away all of your possessions? Would you do it? Would you trust that that was in your best interest? Or would you say, well, I got some questions here, right? What if Spirit nudged you outside of your comfort zone? Would you trust the process? My whole life, the answer was, hell no, I don't trust the process. I don't trust anything. I don't even trust myself, right? That's part of what the problem was for me too, and that I've been working on healing these last several years, is learning to trust myself, to believe in myself. Hadn't done that before. That was a new process for me. That was scary for me. But once I started learning to trust myself, trust my own intuition, believe in myself, believe in what I'm capable of doing, then it was easier for me to start having faith and trust in the unseen. As within, so without. It was a reflection of my own faith and trust in myself that I started to have more faith and trust in things on the external, i.e. God, right? I was recently watching this John Gotti documentary on Netflix. He's the famous mobster from New York City in the 90s. Fascinating guy. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But one of the mafiosos on there, one of these Italian guys got on there and he was like, when the boss tells you to do something, you just fucking do it. You don't question it. You don't doubt it. You fucking do it. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences, right? And it reminded me of my relationship with Spirit, my higher self, God, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I'm comparing God to a mafia boss, but I don't know if that's blasphemous or not, but just roll with it. But when Spirit tells me to jump, I jump. When Spirit tells me to go left, I go left, because I know that it's going to be the path of least resistance. And it doesn't mean that there's not going to be bumps on that road, that there aren't going to be trials and tribulations. There probably will. But I end up following where Spirit leads me because I know that in the long run, it's in my best interest to do so, even though it may seem scary at first, right? Because the more times that we face these fears, that we step outside of our comfort zones, the less scary these things become. And for me, this is the path of freedom. This is the path of not letting fear hold me back anymore. It's about becoming limitless. It's about realizing that I've always been limitless, and the only thing keeping me from being limitless is my own fears in my own mind. And once I overcome those and dissolve those out of my path, out of my mind, then literally nothing can stop me. The only thing stopping me was myself. And once I disconnected from that, once I allowed myself to soar, I became unstoppable. I went through a phase where I was reading a lot of comic books, graphic novels, watching all the Marvel movies, etc. I was diving deep into the hero's journey and the archetypes, etc. And I noticed that there's a theme to the heroes. And I noticed that amongst all of these stories, these myths that we have in our society, that the hero is always the person who runs towards the big scary thing. The villain or the volcano or whatever the big scary thing is, the hero runs towards it while everybody else runs away from it. And I started taking note of that. Like, what if I started doing that in my own life? What if I wanted to become fearless? How would I go about doing that? And this is how I'm doing it. Because I'm thinking about superheroes and these comic book heroes, right? Where they're superhuman. They're demigods, right? And so these superheroes, these demigods of our stories, of our myths, are unstoppable. And so I started thinking about these superheroes, these demigods that are in our stories, and trying to apply it to my own life. And then I start reading about how 99% of human DNA is labeled as junk DNA, meaning that scientists have no idea what 99% of our DNA is there for. It's just this dormant DNA that is inactive currently, and they don't know what its purpose is. And so part of me wonders if as we are seeking this enlightenment, whatever that means, right? As we're seeking this enlightenment, perhaps that is the path to unlocking this dormant DNA that lies within us. Because I did a deep dive on mysticism and magic, and then it led me to, levitation and telekinesis and super speed and stuff like that. in all of these ancient cultures that talk about it, and it's easily dismissed as myth, as just silly stories. But what if it wasn't? What if some people have the ability to unlock dormant DNA, to unlock the God gene within us, to activate these superpowers? In Hinduism, there's these things called siddhis, Siddhis, and on the path to enlightenment, people have reportedly been able to levitate, have super speed, move things with their mind, manifest things into their reality, right? Have the ability to shrink down to a super small size, grow to a mega size, right? Bilocation, being in two places at once, right? There's all these, and it's not just in the Eastern philosophies, the ancient stories about these types of things, but also in ancient Greece. And while many people dismiss this type of thing as just, silly stories, I question it. Because I believe that anything is possible in this reality. And that's, when I play this game, that's what I'm playing with. I'm trying to see what the limits of the game are. Can I levitate? Because I've learned that we have these limiting beliefs, things that we believe are impossible. But as I've been on this journey for the last several years, I've learned that all of these things that I thought were impossible became possible. Because I started believing that they were possible. Things that I thought that I couldn't ever do before. So once I started removing these limiting beliefs from my mind, well, now anything is possible. I can walk through a wall. I just don't know how to do it yet. I can levitate like the ancient yogis. I just haven't been shown how to do it yet. And so it's fun to play with the idea of unlocking superpowers. But in order to do that, I have to eliminate my limiting beliefs and I have to eliminate my fears, right? And so try it. Try it in your own life. Just see, what does it look like to have 100% faith and trust? To just float down the cosmic river of life, not trying to control any of it. Because that's what it is. When I'm trying to take, when Matt Owens is trying to take control of the situation because he's scared, that's normal. That's fine. But I recognize the pattern. I see what Matt Owens is doing. He's just scared. That's all right, big guy. That's all right. Relax. Go with the flow. What does it look like to go with the flow of the cosmic river? Well, when I see rapids coming up, it's about trusting the guide that's in the boat with me, leading the boat down the river, right? It's about not grabbing my oar and freaking out and trying to paddle in the opposite direction. That's just going to make me tired and exhausted. And so these last few years, what I've done is let go of control. And that means that even when I am approaching these rapids, to just let it ride. Because it's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me more confident in this process that I found myself in. Life. And so these last few years, I've been through so many rapids. I've gone over so many waterfalls, metaphorically, that I trust the process now. Every time I've gone through the rapids or seen an approaching waterfall, like here we go, I always make it through in the end. And God always gives me a little wink and says, see, I told you. I told you we were going to get through this. I told you everything always works out. And so now that I've been through so many rapids and waterfalls, I'm not even worried about it. I see a waterfall coming up that would have freaked me out a few years ago. And now I just put on my sunglasses and kick back and enjoy the view. Right? And to many people in my life who are still scared of those rapids and still scared of these waterfalls that I've found myself going over, they don't understand what I'm doing. It appears that I'm insane. Right? But they don't know what I know, which is it always works out. That I have a river guide leading me that always has my back. Right? They don't know my river guide. His name is Jesus, by the way, guys. Jesus is going rafting with me. I brought a 6-pack, and we're just enjoying the afternoon. And so in those moments where my faith is faltering, I'm always given the image of Aladdin, of him saying, do you trust me? And so I encourage you to jump on that magic carpet, because it's quite a ride. It's quite exhilarating. Love you. End transmission.